Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Pebble Beach Pro-Am picks, the research, guess the odds. We're going to dig deep into all of the stats over at fantasynational.com, the revamped fantasynational.com, fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. You can see how I use the tools and do the walkthrough on this show if you are watching the video version. If you are watching the video version, smash the like and sub to the channel. If you're listening to the audio version, you can always hop over to Mayo Media Network on YouTube or just keep listening. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, set on the auto downloads and rate 5 stars. That would always help me a tremendous amount. The Listeners League is not yet out. I should have that by Monday for the show with Feinberg when we make our bets. However, I am going to have a first look with a Guess the Odds along with a companion piece with this video in my free newsletter, the Mayo Media newsletter on Substack. You can join for free down in the description. Then my complete article will come out on Monday as well, and that'll just get sent straight to your inbox. So please go sub to that right now. Here's what you need to know about this tournament this year, because it's a lot different than Pro-Am's past. The Pro-Am where you're up with, there's no Bill Murray, there's no Larry the Cable Guy. All of like the jabroni celebrities they're launched, they're gone. When you cut the field size down from 156 players to 80 players, those top-end CEOs, they're going to pay the bucks to get their 2 rounds in. There's no Saturday round with the loser amateurs. It's just the first 2 days. It is a signature event. There is no cut. I don't like that. That I do not like whatsoever. So the first 2 days, it's going to be split between Pebble Beach Golf Links and Spyglass Hill. Monterey Peninsula, taking a hike. You're out of the rotation now. It's 2 courses. So the first 2 days, they're going to split between those 2. They're going to play with their AM partners. The rounds are going to take like 70 hours, and it's going to suck. And all the cameras, generally speaking, are at Pebble Beach. ShotLink only at Pebble Beach, not at Spyglass Hill, but both of the weekend rounds, Saturday and Sunday, are going to be at Pebble Beach. Everyone in the field, all 80 players, is going to get their chance to win. I think it's $3.75 million. So that's what we're seeing. And the strongest field of the year so far, the deepest field of the year so far. Again, it sucks that there's no cut, but this is what we're living with the signature events. API, Genesis, and Memorial will continue to have a cut, 80 down to 50 after the weekend. That's good enough for me. I think that's fine. When you invite all of the best players, if you're playing like a jabroni, you got to take a hike. You got to be the Monterey Peninsula of the field. You can't be around. The last time that we didn't have Monterey Peninsula in the rotation was coming out of the COVID year. Daniel Berger won. So that one should probably reflect a little bit of what we're seeing more so this week with 3 rounds at Pebble Beach, 1 at Spyglass Hill. Monterey generally plays as the easiest in that rotation. It's the one with the super large greens. Like the smallest greens on the PGA Tour are at Pebble Beach Golf Links. The 5th lowest of a regular rotation, smallest, are at Spyglass Hill. There is a huge difference. We'll get into that because there's a ton of trees at Spyglass Hill. It's like parkland style and not directly on the coast. Pebble is far more influenced by the wind than it is over at Spyglass Hill. So if it's like benign conditions, Pebble Beach is going to play super easy, and it's going to be a putting contest, albeit a difficult putting contest because it ain't easy to putt on these greens. So this is where I want to jump in right now, because it was really pissing me off over the weekend. Like, I get that your guys are missing short putts. Everyone misses short putts except for Matthew Pavon. He even missed one on, hole 17. He missed one of the short ones. Like, I guess it's because everyone bet on Aubert that they really noticed it, and he had that just ridiculous 4-putt. But he gained strokes putting for the week. Tony Finau was much worse. Xander was much worse, but it's going to be even worse this time around. To bring up the putting splits, I have them here in front of me, and they'll be in the newsletter, but just as a spoiler alert, putting inside 5 feet, the make rate for this course is 94.9%. That is the 3rd lowest of any course on the PGA Tour regular rotation. Torrey Pines and Riv are the other 2. So short putts on POA, very difficult. But these are small greens. And then to keep going down the list, 5 to 10 feet, 2nd lowest make percentage of any course on tour. Pebble Beach, that would be inside 10 feet, 3rd lowest make percentage. 10 to 15 foot putting, 25%, the lowest of any course on the PGA Tour. 5 to 15 feet, 40%. That's the second lowest. 15 to 25 feet, 13%. Third lowest. You're not going to make a whole lot of putts. So guys that have a lot of experience on these greens should end up going pretty well here. But just because someone's missing a 3-foot putt, there's a lot of guys missing 3-foot putts. You're only choosing to remember the putts that you see. That doesn't mean because you haven't watched it, it's not happening to anyone else. Although it was like historically bad for Tony Finau, which should kind of make up that like everyone else was kind of shit as well when it came to the short putts on the greens. Tough one to do. It's tough to make some of these short putts. So anyway, it was just really, because someone had told me, it's like, oh yeah, O'Bear missed six putts inside 5 feet on Sunday. It's like, no, he missed 3 inside 5 feet, one. He missed 3 inside 7 feet, 1 inside 5 feet. But like, live your truth, man. That's fantastic. Fantastic for your feelings. You know, that's much better than the empirical facts that are laid out. What you feel actually happened is what happened. I mean, I guess that's the society we live in right now, right? Whatever you feel, that has to be the truth, not what actually happened. So it just, you can see that like no one paid any attention to Xander because no one had any money on Xander to win outright because the odds were so short. Obviously, he was one of the favorites coming in. Same as Max Homa. Like Max Homa missed a whole bunch of short putts throughout the course of the entire week. He 3-putted from inside 7 feet twice. I believe that was just on Thursday that he did that, but it was twice over the course of the 4 rounds. And like no one was like, oh my God, Max Homa, can never bet him, a guy who's won at this course before, because he can't make these short putts. So, guys make short putts. It happens. And you might want to like scroll through to see who's actually missing the short putts and who's not. But you're going to see a whole lot of them at Pebble Beach this week. Let's get to the course. Pebble Beach Golf Links, you know it well. There will be 3 rounds this year at Pebble Beach. It plays under 7,000 yards. Pure POA on the greens. There's 116 bunkers littered across the grounds. There is one water hazard. It's called the Pacific Ocean, so don't hit it in there or down a cliff. And yes, there is shot trackers. We'll have better data from this tournament than we've had at almost any besides 2021. I guess the U.S. Open. So I guess that's another part that we can talk about a little bit. Like the last time that we saw a field this good at Pebble Beach was during the 2019 U.S. Open, when all of like the really good drivers of the ball did really well. Brooks, obviously Woodland won. You saw Rose up there. I mean, DJ has won at this tournament before. Scheffler ended up kind of hanging around that year too. You know, Victor and Morikawa, one's a bomber, one's more of an accuracy guy, but 2 guys that are prodigious talents off the tee. That was when they were amateurs and their first major, and they played incredibly well at that U.S. Open. But what we've seen throughout the course of time at the Pro-Am with an easier setup, with a bit wider fairways, and the rough is like not penal whatsoever. It's the closest proximity to the pin of any course in the regular rotation on the PGA Tour from the rough. That's how you end up with Von Taylor and Ted Potter Jr., these triple-digit winners. It is the year of the triple-digit winner. And this course over time, what you've seen, like there's one outlier over the past 10 years, realistically speaking, from the odds boards at Pebble Beach. It's Tom Hoge. He was 65-1 at Open. It's generally either someone under 30-1, your Phils, your Roses, your Spieths, your Jason Days, or some just out-of-nowhere long shot, Nick Taylor. Von Taylor, the Taylor brothers, although they are not related or from the same country. Ted Potter Jr., like these triple-digit winners, because I just went over how difficult it can be to putt at Pebble Beach, that if you have the week where you are making all of those putts, then you're going to be pretty good. Jason Day is like the king of making these sorts of putts. But now we get this field in terms of, Scheffler and Rory making his debut, that is it just going to lean towards the very top end of players and they're going to run away with this? Like, I'm finding it very difficult to figure out what's actually going on. So Pebble Beach itself, the actual course, only the short number 7 plays under par in terms of the par 3s, with 2 of the back 9 ones posting a bogey rate of over 25%. So the par 3s can eat you alive at Pebble Beach. The par 4s, the average distance is 430 yards, and 4 of the most 5 difficult holes are par 4s, all 4 of which come in the first 10 holes. If you can survive the front, you can actually go score on the back. And we've seen that myriad times over the years coming down the stretch. If you can just get through that front 9 and those hard par 4s. There's a tough par 5 on the back that guys can really blow it, but number 6 is a must get for the par 5s. It's a 3% eagle rate, a 44% birdie rate. No other hole on the course is even birdied 28% of the time. The par 5s are a bit tougher than you would think at this course. It's I mean, to really think of it, like you saw Daniel Berger ended up with 2 eagles in the final round the year that he won in 2021. But that's a pretty big outlier that guys are like getting there in 2 a lot of the time. Like even on number 18, like these greens are just so small that you're going to have to rely on chipping it in a lot of the times unless you're absolutely dialed in from beyond 200 yards. Like generally speaking, it's a wedge fest and a putting contest is what we've seen over the years. And like your short game is going to be put to the test, and that in mid-range and short putting, it's a real test of all your skills. But like I said before, if it becomes benign conditions in terms of the weather, then all of a sudden you're looking at a tournament that legitimately does end up becoming a putting and chipping contest in a lot of weird ways. DraftKings wise, in terms of the streak, we can kind of jump over to that, but I'll just briefly talk about Spyglass Hill for a second. It's a par 72, 7,041 yards, so not super longer, but it's not long whatsoever. It's one of the shortest courses on tour. 62 bunkers, 4 holes with water in play. POA again, this is more parkland. There's trees. You can make bigger numbers at Spyglass, but it does not actually play all that difficult. These two can kind of trade year over year of which is the most difficult on a yearly basis because wind and weather can impact one more so than the other. But with all things being equal and like relatively, again, benign conditions, Spyglass should play a little bit harder than we see at Pebble Beach. So let's jump over to fantasynational.com right now and continue going through what we've seen. Obviously, the field is all loaded up and ready to go, and we can jump through the field in a little bit. But let's go to the course just for a minute to take a look at what Pebble Beach presents, as we talked about a little bit earlier. You can see that even when you get to the par 5s, here we go. 3% eagle rate is not great. Number 18, it's crazy that Berger eagled it in order to win that tournament, but less than a 1% eagle rate, 26% birdie rate, so nothing all that high. The bogey rate is 16% for a par 5, kind of crazy. 25% bogey rate for number 14 on the back 9, like that's kind of crazy for a par 5 as well. So the par 5s are they're not the gimmies that you would really think of. You can see that putting and approach really kind of blows everything away again, but that's usually with a much lesser field. This is one of the worst fields of the year historically. Now it's one of the deepest that we see in 2014. So we jump into the field. We'll see a little bit more of that. I've already went through the putting splits. You can see the average distribution for approach shots is pretty flat, about as flat as you're going to see, but a lot of shots coming from 150 yards and in. You got 15%, you got 22%, you got 6%. I mean, that's almost, it's not the plurality of shots, but you're getting up there pretty close at Pebble Beach when it's just going to be, can you hit these little knockdowns and get the spin to stay right? Can you hold them on these greens? Because hitting greens in regulation is going to be lower. With the smaller greens, it just inevitably has to be. Driving accuracy going to be very high because guys have to dial back. It's the fewest amount of 300-yard drives of any course on the PGA Tour because guys have to dial it back. You can see the driving distance, 267 per. Only 17% of drives go over 300 yards because there's no need to really air it out. You need to play this strategically. I would really link it a lot, although it's not exactly the same. The way that I would really link this course is, and we've seen a lot of crossover success between the two, not across the board, but Harbour Town has to be the one that comes to mind immediately, where you don't need to be a bomber in order to do well. Tee to green, you need to be very good, but you can be more of an accuracy-based player who's very good 150 and in, and a very good chipper and putter, and you just don't have that overall driving distance. You can get away with that at this course. You can get away with that at the Heritage. There are other courses where that's just not going to be in play, and you've seen Spieth win both of them, Fitzpatrick, ideally, he's won at Harbour Town in his career. He won last year at Harbour Town at beating Spieth in that playoff. But he's someone who, on paper, should do really well at Pebble Beach, too. That I don't want to say because you struggle at Harbour Town that means you're going to struggle at this event. I mean, that might not be the case, but that would be one of the few like things against you that I would look at if we're trying to separate between a lot of these top end players. And we saw all the top end guys play at Harbour Town last year. And that's why the reason that I bring it up, because you've seen so few of the top end players play at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am in their careers. They just have no data to go off of. They have no course history. And it's usually the same people that come back and play over time. When we take a look at course history, it's a lot of the same people year over year that play well here. So that's just kind of interesting to look at, trying to find different ways to kind of parse this out of how we're going to figure this out. So those are the course details, the course history over time. And we can take a look at it. If we just click over to the card section of the field, maybe we can get a little bit of a, I'll shrink down the screen there for us as well. Hey, look at all these guys. They're in here. So the tournament and the recent, like the tournament play, like you got nothing for a lot of these guys. You can see the recent form for like your Aaron Rise of the world and your Adam Hadwins of the world is pretty good. But when you take a look at their tournament form, 1 T65 for Aaron Rye in his career at this tournament. That was in 2020. So if we go down, you can just see a lot of the different guys. This is just a view, a very quick scroll view, if this is how you want to look at things. And again, if you just click on it, you can toggle back and forth between recent and tournament of how they did. We'll get the farmers updated once ShotLink gets that data over to us, but that's the way that you can look at it. I still prefer the table view if I'm going to do more of my in-depth research, which I'm doing for this show, obviously. But once again, that is fantasynational.com/Mayo. Get yourself 20% off any of those packages. But the tournament history, to take a quick look at everything, we'll jump over to the tournament history tab, make it easy on ourselves. We can see, Nick Taylor been the best player of anyone in terms of strokes gained total. He has played it every single year. He had the win in 2020. He had top 20s each of the past 2 years as well. I've been betting on Nick Taylor all year anyway, so obviously I'm going to continue to bet him going forward. In this, Jason Day has been very good as well. Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, Mav McNeely. Mav McNeely was one of my bets last year. He withdrew. That was a lot of fun. That kicked off he just played his way back into the Players' Championship, getting enough FedEx Cup points, even after a disastrous, final round, a Saturday at Torrey Pines. He was very much in the mix. I like Matt McNeely this week. I'd be curious to know what his odds are going to be in a field this stacked. See, Homa's been very good on POA, although he 3-putted within 7 feet. Can't back him on POA. Can't putt on POA. Fuck off. Gosh, it was absolutely killing me. Just the morons out there. If you're one of those morons, never tweet at me again. It gets my blood pressure boiling, and I don't like it a lot because having to explain it over and over just makes me angry all over again. But yeah, can't back Max Homa. Can't putt on POA, although he's won at every California course ever except this one. But he does have, in his last 3 starts, top 15s in each of those starts. But you can see none of the top names are popping up here because they just frankly don't play in this tournament at all. Even going back to last year, a lot of guys that who played in this tournament actually went to live. Like Dustin used to play all the time, Phil, Paul Casey, they're not here anymore. Rose won it a year ago. It was a cluster. It had to finish on Monday because of weather. It was really not an enjoyable viewing experience. I mean, this tournament is going to be hopefully a lot better now in terms of viewing. This is usually the worst one to watch all year because you have Konica Minolta Vision with some guy named Jake Owen who I've never heard of when assessing his swing on a Saturday. The celebrities themselves really aren't even here this time, and they're not playing on Saturday. So we get a real 2 rounds on the weekend to watch this tournament, which is nice. Hopefully they show us some more shots. He entered in pretty strong form, having gained a total of 12.6 strokes. This is Justin Rose at the Farmers and Amex coming into last year. 9 of the top 10 finishers last year gained from 175 to 200 in terms of proximity. Tom Hoagie the year before that, he had a top 3 finish at the American Express 2 weeks previous to that. He did miss the cut at Farmers going in, but you can see a lot of these guys. Justin Rose, he had made the cut the year before. Tom Hoagie had a top 15 the year before, had made it the 3 previous years. In 2021, Daniel Berger won that year, who had a pretty nice run here as well. But he's not in the field this time around. Nick Taylor was another one. He had come inside the top 30 the year previous to his win. Phil had obviously had a lot of success. I believe he's won this tournament 4 times. He won in 2019. Even TPJ. We can see, is Ted Potter, did they give him a sponsor's invite? Nah, poor Ted Potter. We'll never see Ted Potter at this event again. If it remains as an elevated event. It might not remain as an elevated event, but we can even kind of see, I believe it's listed under Pro-Am. Yeah, he had a top 20 at this tournament before the win. When he went through, I mean, he had no success outside of those years, but he did have a top 20. So, having a strong indicator has been the way that this tournament has played itself out over time, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the same thing going forward throughout time as well, like just because we have the stronger field. And that is going to be the internal question that you have to ask yourself this week. Is this going to play differently than you normally would think, because the field is so much smaller and stronger that you're not going to have the bulk of outlier type players to have a great week, because you've trimmed the field from 156 to 80 players, and now you have just a lot. The overall quality, even the top 80 players, like you used to have like 10 maybe good players, sometimes 4 really good players in a field, that now we're looking at it in a completely different way. So let's take a look at the strokes gained coming into this over the past 24 rounds, and then we can rig everything else up. Rory coming off his win over in the desert, playing his first time in America this year, is number 1 in the field. You can even see going down the left-hand side now on Fantasy National. It does give you the splits of this tournament over time. You can see like the greens, they used to be bent. Now they're pure POA on all of the courses. You can see green firmness, hitting fairways. Is it difficult? Is it hard at this tournament? Fast versus lightning. These are fast POA greens. Bumpy. POA greens as well. You can just be, it's tracking towards the hole. Oh, it hit a bump. Oh, it went the other way. It plays as a par 72 100% of the time. But that's just how it's going to kind of factor itself out. Like over 7,400 yards. Yeah, not often. They really have to jack it up to play that. And that was with Monterey Peninsula way back in the day as well. So these are just different tournament factors that you can make it easy on yourself to go through now. So we're seeing the first appearance we get of Rory. We haven't seen Vic since the opening tournament of the year. And then just a lot of the regulars that we're seeing. Nick Dunlap is now someone that is a professional, coming off his win at the American Express. Pulled out last week at Torrey Pines. Went back, got his affairs in order, but he is now a professional. And yes, he is in this field of 80. When Fantasy National updates itself, we pulled this in on Friday. Obviously, the field got updated because of the conclusion of the tournament. So once the odds are released, we'll get the full top 80. We just wanted to make sure that everyone was in there. If you were doing early research on this, like Justin Thomas has played himself into the field by being top 30 in the world. That means Hayden Buckley is now the first one out. Matthew Pavon now back in the field. Some weird sponsors invites. It's kind of crazy that we didn't get Daniel Berger or Will Zalatoris or Gary Woodland. So Berger has won at this tournament before, but he's been off, since outside of he made his return at the American Express, but he had been out for 18 months previous to that. He's a former winner of this event. Zalatoris, you think you would just want to have him in the field, and had his best round of the year on Sunday. So it's nice to see him slowly getting back up into form. Gary Woodland won a major championship at this venue 5 years ago, coming back from brain surgery. They're like, take a hike, pal. You can't be in this tournament. No, we need to give our sponsors invites to Mav McNeely. And listen, I can see it. He's played really well at this tournament over the years, and his dad is like a billionaire, so probably greased the right wheels in order to get in. Peter Malnati got a sponsor's invite to this, which is mind-boggling. Webb Simpson and Adam Scott, sure, why not with those guys? But you think that you would find, especially for Gary Woodland, instead of Peter Malnati. Like Webb Simpson, that's great and everything. It's not like Webb Simpson's won at this tournament before. Like I would have given that to Daniel Berger or Will Zalatoris, just playing off the medical exemptions. Like it's really strange to me coming through. Who else do we have here? No one really else. Mark Hubbard was awesome. Tee to green, or not even tee to green, ball striking wise last week. He would have won at Torrey Pines basically by like 5 strokes if he could have chipped or putted, done one of the two. He was historically bad for him in both of those categories, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, Nick Dunlap is playing. Other than that, it's like the regulars of the top end of the field, all the good guys that we've seen, and Nick Hardy, for reasons unknown, I guess because he won the Zurich last year. So let's jump in to the stats a little bit and see what we can glean this week. So here's the model that I have made already. And frankly, we've seen just such a weird smorgasbord of winners here over time that I don't think that the model's all that good, to tell you the truth. So we can go in and we can manage the models and we can try to figure them out. Let's see, we can go to Pebble Beach. We can make that's good. We can edit our model a little bit. You can kind of see. Moose is still working on the sliders. People are like very triggered over the fact that, because to use the sliders right now, you just kind of move them up and down like this and everything will readjust for you. We've made it a little bit easier to do for people to get on the percentages that they want. And Moose will have that be able to type in as we go forward. But yeah, people are very upset. Like, oh, I can't type it in at 30. I'm sorry, it said 29 when you were just kind of we were trying to make it easy for people to go through and do everything in that regard. Maybe I have too much weight on approach. Now, that just the first thing that I see when I look at this is I have approach weighted at 30%, but I also have opportunities gained at 5 plus 2 proximity ranges. That's almost 50% for approach, which when you reverse engineer everything, yes, that's the way that it's going to look. Predictively, I don't know if that's the way that you want to approach it. So let's drop this down to, 14 or so percent, 16%, 14%. If it doesn't say 15%, listen, it's not good enough. The model isn't good enough anyway to give me that strict of advice that like there's going to be a huge difference for me when it comes to those two things. Maybe there's something else that we can throw in here. Off the tee, I did not have weighted as all that important. Maybe with a stronger field, I'll up that a little bit, call that 10%. I want to make around the green a little bit more. Putting is tough because I don't know how predictive putting is going to be. Yeah, you want your guys being really good from 5 to 10, 50 or 5 to 15, like both those ranges, and we can throw those in. But as I kind of pointed out, like the miss rates here are so high compared to everything else that maybe building out a rudimentary model and then adding that into the mixed condition is probably the best spot where we want to go this week. Yeah, let's increase putting a little bit. Let's move it down because I'll add that into the mixed condition a little bit easier. The shorter par 4s, 350 to 400 yards. Par 5s, we'll put that into the mix. All right, I'll update the model this way, so I won't change it around too much, but what I will do is take the model rank. Now, Scotty Scheffler, number 1. So I should probably give you the results over the past 24 rounds. Scheffler, Morikawa, Poston, Posty, not Toasty, but Posty. Number 3, Rory McIlroy, Eric Cole. Much better venue for Eric Cole than last week at Torrey Pines, where he finally ended up missing a cut. Victor, Max, Cantlay, Adam Scott, The Glove, Ludwig Aubert, Xander, Spawn, Thigala, Henley, Svensson, Montgomery, Ben Ann, Jagger, Todd, all the regulars that we've seen doing pretty well. If we extend this out a little bit, let's go past 75 rounds just to see if that changes anything else and create some new names up near the top. Model rank, Scheffler, Rory, Cole, Morikawa, Henley. Henley does take a little bit of a jump over the longer sample. He did let us down at the Sony Open, and I don't think we've seen him since. Yeah, we have not seen him since. So maybe, how has he played at this tournament over the years? I don't feel like this is one that he ever plays, which is odd because it feels on paper like it should be pretty good for him. Pro-Am. Oh no, he had played it almost every year up until COVID. A T15 in 2018. It's been a long time since he's played this tournament. Weird that this is one that he just all and out skips just based on his profile and what he does well in terms of his particular skill set. Maybe there are certain people that just actively avoid this tournament because they hate playing the 3 rounds with the amateurs and it ends up being a 6.5 hour round. Like, I fully get that. Ben Ann is someone, like, there's a few players that I had my eye on, mainly Ben Ann and Mav McNeely. So just a great start to the season for Byung-Hun An. 2 top 4 finishes. And how has he done here? Really? He's never played it? How did he play at the U.S. Open when it was here? U.S. Open 2019 came T16. A lot of great chipping at that course. That's crazy to me that he's never played in this event. That can't be right. Yeah, he played AT&T Pebble Beach. Yeah. It just, when we have to use ShotLink for a lot of this stuff, how they name the tournaments is always so weird. So he did play it last year, played Pebble itself very well. So it must mean he had a bad go at either Spyglass or Monterey. I suppose I can. I don't even want to go effort that. It's just nice to see that these numbers pop up. Almost 4 strokes tee to green in only 2 rounds at Pebble Beach. If we prorate that out, he's going to be 8 strokes gained tee to green. I mean, that's what he basically gained at Sony and did really well. We've seen the putter come along a little bit. It's been historically very bad on POA, but I think that's okay. And he does play, in the windier the conditions get, the better Ben-An ends up playing relative to the field. So if we do get windy conditions at Pebble Beach, maybe he can navigate that a little bit better. Can he make enough putts? Well, that's always kind of the thing with Benny, but if everyone is missing shorter putts, I do think that helps out a little bit with him. And it did seem like he actually gained strokes putting. Last year, he gained 1.5 on these greens. So maybe that's somewhere, it could be a positive for him on these. We have a very short sample, so realistically, we're not going to know. But I'm going to shrink this back down to past 24 rounds, and we'll start building out a mixed condition model. And see what we can come up with on this front. So we're going to put the model ranking, and we're going to add that in. We're going to say our model rank, and we're going to add that into the mixed condition model. So I had Torrey Pines in there. We'll throw that out, and we'll throw out strokes gained total from Torrey Pines last week, and we'll build up a new one to just what we see right now. So last 24 rounds, Pebble Beach stat ranking. That is one that we'll throw in. And you know what? We might as well try to do the past 100 rounds as well, just to get a better glimpse of if these are the things that historically rate out well at Pebble Beach. We're going to throw in both short-term and long-term. And if people we're going to have the rolling report back very soon. However, this is just an easier way to do that if you want to just throw both short and long-term in your mixed condition model, along with other things as well. We can start weighting this out once we get in a little bit deeper to these two things, and now we can start actually coming up with actual course conditions. The first thing that I wanted to look at was putting at this venue in particular. We can take a look at the past 24 rounds. A lot of players do not have 24 rounds of putting to go with at this course, but again, making everything very easy now. Pebble Beach. I'm not going to throw in the U.S. Open just because I think these are different conditions. We'll just take a look at Pebble Beach Golf Links, what we have seen at the Pro-Am from this course, and I'll go back to the strokes gained format. With this going in, the model rank of just pure strokes gained. What is everything weighted out in here? Yeah, I have it just really weird. Let's just kind of, what do we think? Just by looking at everything a little bit earlier. So, I mean, strokes gained total is obviously going to be good, but we had approach and putting when we looked at it at about the same. So we'll weight those the same. Off the tee was slightly above around the green, and then just total in general coming in will just be nice to look at, and we'll call that our strokes gain model. Jason Day is actually the best at this coming in at Pebble Beach over time. So this is really the course history of what we're looking at. What I do want to see is the average putting for players coming in. So very few players actually do anything all that well here. Xander in one round historically at this course on these greens has done really well. Obviously, it was a bit different for the U.S. Open, but it's him, Justin Suh, Aaron Rai, Bezadenhout's been good, Lee Hodges, Sung Jae, they all have one round of data at the golf links. So that's not really telling us anything. Patrick Rogers has 6. Okay, so Patrick Rogers is averaging the best. So we'll all just go through the players who have 3 or more rounds putting at Pebble Beach golf links during the Pro-Am, and then we can maybe get a little bit of a better sense of what's going on here. So you have Patrick Rogers, 1.17 per round in 6 rounds. That's really good. Alex Noren, 1.12. Denny McCarthy, 1.02. Those are the only 3 players with more than 3 rounds that have done really well at Pebble Beach golf links in terms of putting. So the guys with more rounds who are still in like the half stroke or more category, you got Webb Simpson. Yeah, good thing he was a sponsor's invite. Day and McNeely, Matthew, the Knights who say nee, Smith have done pretty well. Finau. Maybe this is the ultimate Finau. No one will go to Finau in their minds now because, that guy can't putt, but he's putted pretty well here. Ben-An in only 2 rounds. Shank, Seamus Power have done very well here. I have no idea how Seamus Power did last week. I should probably go look into that. Brendan Todd, who was a runner-up here a year ago, over 0.5. Jagger has putted very well here in his 4. So is Wyndham Clark. Putnam, Cantlay, and that's in 10 and 13 rounds. Hoagie, Malnati, Nick Taylor, another one. They all have gained gained over a half stroke per round on these greens over the course of her career. And we can even break this down a little bit more. So instead of using strokes gained, we can go into putting. And I mentioned some of those different categories. If we just take a look at Pebble Beach, the 5 to 10 range, where I said, it's very difficult to gain strokes on. And it's been, the third lowest, second lowest make percentage. Rye and Suh, they only have the one round. Wyndham Clark has been one of the better players from in close. Inside 10 feet, Wyndham Clark is one of the better players on the field historically at this course. Malnati has been really good as well with guys with a lot of rounds. You have Vic and Patrick Rogers have done pretty well, 5 to 10 feet. Vic's been really bad from 5 feet and in. So is Poston. So Poston's been bad at the short misses here. Poston in general has not putted well at this course on only 3 rounds. So you give him the benefit of the doubt. That is a small sample. You can see Nick Taylor just kind of dynamite inside 15 feet in his 18 rounds here. Jason Day very much the same way. Seamus Power very much the same way. That's really nice to see. So the guys that have played so many rounds here, maybe they continue to play here because they've been so comfortable. And we've seen the longer sample from them, be it Bo Haas or Matt McNeely, 9 and 15 rounds. Or maybe that we're seeing that, well, let's just try to sort by rounds. Can we sort by rounds? Yeah. So who are like the worst guys who putt here? Like Chris Kirk has 15 rounds of data and has just been dog shit on these greens over the course of his career. Cooch is bad at 3-putt avoidance. He's lost 0 to 5, 10 feet versus the field. He's lost 5 to 10. Not a ton, but marginally. So he has not been all that great from in close, and he has a ton of rounds here. He has 17 rounds. Day and Spieth have the most. I mean, they have the only ones that max out the 24 rounds, and Spieth, no big surprise, has been negative to the field from 0 to 5 feet, but actually been very good everywhere else. And we've seen all the rounds of Spieth, when he was amazing and when he was bad. So we can go back and look year over year how he's done on these greens. He's been really bad over the course of his career. Not really bad, but he's been in the negative from 15 feet and beyond in his career. But the 3-putt avoidance has actually been very good for him. So he's never really lit it up on the greens all that well. He had 2 really great rounds in 2016. Round 4, and then round 3 in 2017. Strokes gained putting, he was 3.7, 4.8, and only a few other times has he gained over a stroke. 1.1, 1.2, 1.9. At least they're starting to come a little bit. He's had 2 really bad rounds on the greens. He had one really bad round 2014. That was a decade ago, so we'll probably give him a pass on that. In this current iteration of Spieth that we've seen, where he has not been very good from in close, he has been relatively good over the past few years from in close 0 to 5 feet, which is a real killer range for him at this venue. So that's good news. And the 3-putt avoidance is low, where it tends to be very high at this course. So good news from Jordan Spieth, at least at this course going forward. So yeah, that's more of the putting stats. What I want to do is basically throw in strokes game. Actually, what we can do here is we can go add to mixed condition model. At this course by itself, we'll throw in putting, and we'll throw that in. And we'll say putting, Pebble Beach. Where do we at here? Strokes gained putting, courses, Pebble Beach, last 24 rounds. So that's the only ones that we have in here. Another thing that you can do, although it might not be as great for this week, is to go to the time machine, just to see how all this stuff did last year. Now, everyone in the mixed condition model ranking that we're building at the moment are going to be pretty good overall, because we can edit the mixed condition model and make things like, I'll wait till we add everything into it, but we'll take, we'll just rate everything at 33%. That's probably the easiest way to go about it right now. We can call it 30, 36, 34 of the 2 rankings plus putting. We'll update it and just see how that affects what we're looking at when we go back in and take a look at the time machine. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the time machine and what it does in general, it takes a look back over time of what we were at this point a year ago entering this tournament. And it gives you a sense of what you might have been able to see. So the MCM rank last year, let's see, it wasn't very good. Seamus Power would have ranked second in the mixed condition model of players in this field of their stats coming in. You can see what their stats were coming in. Here's what Tom Hoagie did before this tournament coming in. He played the American Express, he played the Sony, he played the Century. That's what he was up to entering this tournament from 2023. And you can go back to the other years to see how it did. But that's why I said that even just taking an overall look at the modeling, that it might be pretty tough. So the mixed condition The best it did was, Brendan Todd was 9th. He ended up coming in 2nd. Mitchell was 13th. He came in 4th. That's pretty good. You can sort by the finish last year, too, to see where these guys would have rated out. So, yeah, Mitchell and Todd were the best. And even in the overall model, Carl Wan ranked out 9th in the modeling coming in. He came in 7th. He just got bumped from the field, by the way, so he's not going to be playing. So it was a bad year last year. Maybe that was an outlier year. You can always go back and back test, to 2022. 2021 might be the best look that we can go back and try to figure out. Let's see. Yeah, this was much better the year before. So you can see Tom Hoagie won. He was 3rd in the modeling. He would have been 1st in the mixed condition modeling. Now, we do have some course history baked in with that putting, so obviously that's going to factor itself with the weighting that we have in right now towards people that have done well here. Like the model rank, the MCM loved Jordan Spieth, hated him on just his overall rankings coming in. He came in 2nd. Cantlay was 1st in the modeling. He came in 4th. Yeah, the modeling was much better this time around. I missed out on a lot of these guys in the middle, like Merritt, Damon, Fitzpatrick. Damon was 20th, but the mixed condition got them a little bit better with 12th and 17th for Fitzpatrick and Putnam. Power was 2nd and 11th in the modeling. He came in 9th. So just a lot of the guys who, so it was, put it this way, the model was a lot better in 2022 than it was in 2023. We'll see how it did when all of the best players really did well in 2021, which is why I have pause about what's going on here. So the model rank. Let's see, the finish rank. This is the year that Berger won. So when you take a look at the odds, like these were mainly all the guys who were at the top. I think that 13 of the top 24 in DraftKings pricing came inside the top 20 that year. And that's the year that they played the 3 rounds at Pebble Beach and didn't play Monterey Peninsula. So yeah, if we just did it with the model itself, it wasn't all that good. Who was tops in the model coming in here? Zalatoris, Burns, Neesmith, Siwoo, Cam Davis, Varner, Doug Gim, Kyle Stanley, Patrick Cantlay, and Paul Casey coming in were the best. So, it got Cantlay and them right. Anyway, this is how you can kind of go back and back test to see what was going on. Or you can just kind of see with all the stats that we threw out, what did people do well here? Where were they ranked? So they were ranked pretty highly in putting coming in. Birdies are better gained. They did very well coming in that year. So that's something, that's the Torrey Pines model that I have loaded in right now, just because I forgot to change it when we get up here. But that's interesting to see that they did so well in birdies or better gains. Maybe we can throw birdies or better gain past 24 coming in. And we can kind of take a look around and take a look at what people did going in. So let's add that in. We'll say birdies or better gain. And this does not take the historic data for your mixed condition model. That just says past 24 rounds going in. We can add that in and you'll be able to see it there. We'll just kind of wait that out a little bit. And then we can hit update once again, and it gives us a little bit more going through everything. So now you can see the mixed condition model ranking. If we take a look with that update that we just did. So Berger, although he was 18th in this Torrey Pines model, so we should probably switch off that and go to the Pebble Beach model, just to see if we're doing anything a little bit better right now. Again, it's a research show we're walking through. Finish, there we are. Yeah, Berger was 27th, but 4th in the mixed condition modeling. And that's for all courses, the birdie or better rate. That wasn't just at Pebble Beach. So you can see the putting was good for him coming in to that year in 2021. We didn't have birdies or better in. That was basically it. He was pretty good in approach. He was pretty good in par fours, 400 to, and we can see actually a few of those guys. So Berger, Cantlay, Spieth, Tringali, another guy who went to live. Chris Kirk ended up coming 16th that year. Was very good from this 400 to 450 range. You can see the key proximity ranges that I was looking at didn't really have much of a factor whatsoever, so maybe those are completely wrong. Let's go edit those out and see if we can find ones that... Let's just take a look at proximity first to see if there was a proximity range that did a little bit better that year than maybe that we were thinking going in. So it was not that range. Was it 75? Yeah, 75 to 200. We saw a little bit better. So no, not really. Proximity itself didn't really rate out all that well. When you take a look at the very top end finishes, Russell Knox, yes. Paul Casey, 200 plus. So it was more short game. It's funny that approach itself rated out really well, but there's not like one distance in particular that you can really point to. It does seem like 75 to 150, 25th and 18th coming in, 18th to 31st coming in. If we go and actually take a look at the results from that year, that might be a little bit different, but it does seem like guys coming in 75 to 150 was more of where they were at than the very top end, probably because the harder holes, that's where you're going to come in. So let's do that in the model. Let's take out the two that I had in previously. That's the proximity model. I probably don't want to change that around. What I want to change around is my Pebble Beach modeling. So we did see that birdies are better gained, and I've replaced that with opportunities gained a lot over time. So we're going to get rid of 125, although the wedges have been pretty good here over the years. That's where you're going to do a lot of your scoring. We'll keep that in with opportunities gained, put that back up to like 10%. Now we're going to add in proximity 175 to 200 for reasons. That's par threes. That's the wrong one. Change that to, where is proximity here? Proximity, 175 to 200, and make that, I don't know, 10%-ish. We'll update that model, get rid of two of the factors we can have. And you can always pin your model as well, and that will pop up. I'll make that my pin one for this week coming in, just every time that I pop it open. This is the one that's going to come up. So let's see how that changed the past 24 rounds. Did it change anyone really? Because we're still on the time machine right now. So we update our Pebble model to look like this. It still didn't give us all that great of results. I really liked, the Gims, the Malnati's, and I guess that was just how well people were playing going into that tournament. Even someone like Sam Burns, it was like he was liked in both models, didn't finish all that well. Cantlay, Cam Davis, Matthew Neesmith, Chris Kirk, Jordan Spieth. The mixed condition model ranking ended up doing a little bit better. So let's throw in that range, this 175 to 200 range, and we're not going to give it a very big weighting, but we'll throw it in just to see what's going on here. We'll give it a little minimal rating, and we'll also throw in, I want to add in that par 4, 400 to 450 yards. How did that do? Amongst people coming in that year. So good for Malnati, who ended up doing really well the year after this, which is kind of funny. Siwoo's had a top 5 finish here before. So yeah, let's throw that one in as well. And listen, you can always play around with these sorts of things and do it any way you want. So 400 to 450, we'll add that one in and give it a little bit of a weighting as well. And just see, are we starting to get a better sense of what this course can give us over time. It still likes Cantlay pretty well up there. The mixed condition likes Berger and Cantlay from that year. So let's go back to this year and see if this did anything for us, to see if we're starting to get a better sense of who we might like this week, or at least who you like from the back end of this tournament. Malnati, mixed condition, because we have so much from this going in, and we need to update this again. So let's do we want to put in course history? We have the course history putting going in. We can just put in recent form. I think that's actually a pretty good one to throw in. We can take a look at strokes gained, just in general, strokes gained total going into this. Rory, Cole, we'll add just strokes gained total, recent form, as we can call it, coming in. Past 24 rounds is what we'll call it. And we can throw that in. We can give that its own particular weighting. And we can update the mixed condition model just to see. So Malnati's not going to be number 1 anymore, unfortunately, for all the Malnati heads out there. Eric Cole is now number 1 in the mixed condition and the model rank. Again, much better course for him than Torrey Pines, being on the shorter end. We should probably throw that in as well, just to take a look at it. Less than 7,200 yards. We're getting 100% of the time in that range for Pebble Beach. I had that wrong earlier when I had Torrey Pines, and I had it pulled up the wrong way. So we're going to throw that into the mixed condition, and we'll say strokes gained total on courses of under 7,200 yards. So we'll throw that in, and we'll give that a weighting. So what do we have for the weighting in the mixed condition model right now? So we have the Pebble Beach modeling. Let's tone that down a little bit because we have both columns where we can see that. And we'll just call those 10%. We'll put Pebble Beach putting in around like 20%-ish. The birdies are better game. We'll jack up a little bit because the winning score has been like -17, -18 at this tournament over time. We saw the two weightings for 175 to 200 and par 4s. 400 to 450 kind of pop up a little bit. And then we'll take recent form coming in, put that at 16%. Just overall coming in, then we'll take recent form at courses of less than 7,200 yards and weight that at 14%. You can see that's all up on the screen right now. So nothing in particular is overweighted, just some different conditions coming in. But I do want to make that putting pretty clear. It's at 15%. So let's update the mixed condition model and now see what this is telling us. Does it still have Eric Cole in at number 1? Yes, it does. But now Hovland, Ben An at number 2. So Ben An's top 10 in the overall model rank and now top 3, in the mixed condition model ranking. So that's very interesting to see. Rory, Homa, Xander, Cantlay, Henley. And if you do go into just the overall, like when you do the update to everything, it's up here in the mixed condition modeling. If you just click on the mixed condition model tab, that's what we have. It will build the model out so you can see where everyone just ranks overall, if that's particularly where you want to see of how the guys get there in these sense. But I like to look at it in conjunction with everything else. So I have the model rank of just strokes gained. Let's click back over to that Pebble Beach one and see if that tells us a little bit of a different story. So you can see that Eric Cole in the Pebble Beach specific one, while the MCM ranks him as number 1, the model rank has him at number 15 over the past 24 rounds. The best of the bunch in terms of top 10 in both, Thomas, Henley, Scheffler, Cantlay, Xander are both top 10 in the mixed condition and the overall modeling. But we're trying to find some deeper names here. Poston, although he did have that bad short putting, again, that was a small sample, does well in both of these. Cam Davis, poor Cam Davis. Every time I bet him, he has one great round, then just lets you down the entire time. I like Theegala a lot. I know that he ended up rallying to make the cut, but it's just he's so Spiethy, and Spieth does play well at this tournament. You could take a look at Kapalua as maybe a crossover. He just did really well there. So some decent form coming in. Keegan. Poor Keegan. He just couldn't get it going at all. He rallied very nicely at the back end of round 1 and round 2 to make the cut last week for us to keep us alive. I know a lot of DraftKings contests just couldn't come through in the overall all that much. We're getting Fleetwood. Fleetwood won overseas. I mean, he does like winning overseas, hates winning in America, but he's someone who doesn't rate out all that well in the top end of the field. But if we're just, purely looking, how does Nick Taylor do? Let's see, Nick Taylor, 47th in the MCM and 31st in the model rankings. Coastal short courses, Kurt Kitayama is all coastal courses with Kurt Kitayama in general is just like where you want to play him. As you can see, did he do well at Kapalua? Yeah, he was all right at Kapalua. Came 30th and couldn't chip and couldn't putt that week. Let's see, PGA Championship ended up coming 4th. Again, a shorter course at Oak Hill last year. Arnold Palmer, he won on a longer coastal course. He was 29th at Pebble Beach, which is strange because I think that he was like very much up there until the end. No, he was 18th year. He was 18th in 2020 at this tournament, and he was up there through 3 rounds. Had a terrible Monday. I think that he was inside the top 10. Going into, let's see, Kurt Kitayama was in 2nd place going into the final round last year, and then blew it coming in. And because so much of that round happened on a Monday. That's really weird. I want to see what he shot in the final round now. Let's go to last year, select view. We'll go to leaderboard, see my guy Kurt. So maybe that's some nice hidden value in Kitayama. Yeah, Kitayama 76 in round 4, 64 opening round, treaded water at the other 2, and then boom, 76, good for a T29. But again, 2nd place coming in. He played really well in the windy round. I don't know which course that he played, but all 3 of the rounds were windy in round 1. That was his best round when he ended up shooting a 64. So keep Kurt in the back of your mind here as someone that, the model likes him, the MCM hates him, but did have a pretty good run at this tournament for 3 rounds a year ago. Again, just keep that in the back of your mind. Hopefully Homa can get himself coming back through. So yeah, that's what we're looking at this week. It's time to get to Guess the Odds. I've been saying a whole lot of nothing here, so hopefully I haven't been boring you too much. And now we can try to figure out who's going to be at the top of this market. Since this is the 2nd signature event of the 2024 calendar year, this is the most extensive one. Again, 80 players, all of the top guys are playing. Even Tyrrell Hatton is playing in this tournament, although it is very much rumored he is going to the Live Tour to join Adrian Maronkanonk, the Maroncan Rolla, now on Live. But from the very top of the board, for the top 15 or so odds. Guess the odds for Pebble Beach. What are they going to be at the signature event? I think that Scheffler and Rory are going to be co-favorites at 7-1. They'll be the only players in single digits at the very top of the board. After that, you're looking at Victor, Xander, Cantlay, Homa, Spieth. I think they'll be the next 5 on the board. Probably Victor Hovland at 10-1, maybe 12-1 if you end up getting lucky. Xander and Cantlay firmly in that 14-16 mix. Homa and Spieth 18 or 20-1. So I'll say 10 for Victor, 16 for Xander and Cantlay, 18 for Homa. Give them a little bit of that California edge. Then you have Jordan Spieth coming in at 20-1. My guess for Colin Morikawa and Ludwig Aubert, 22-1. Justin Thomas, last man getting into that field because of his elevated official world golf ranking. That is how he is getting in here. I got him at 25-1. Finau coming off a disastrous putting week, but a very good ball striking week. Actually, an excellent ball striking week. I have him and Sungjae Im both at 30-1. Matthew Fitzpatrick and Tommy Fleetwood, who won 2 weeks ago over in the Middle East, both at 35-1. Then I have Sam Burns, Tyrrell Hatton, Tom Kim, all 40-1. Cameron Young and Nikolai Højgaard at 45-1. And Jason Day, Mr. Pebble Beach himself, 50-1. Those are the guesses, and I'm guessing as well that the odds are going to be out a whole lot sooner than when you wake up on Monday morning for this week. With the tournament ending on Saturday, there's really no reason for the odds not to appear on Sunday. So maybe even by the time you are watching this, the actual odds will have hit the interwebs at the sportsbook of your choice where you can bet it. But I don't have that luxury as I'm filming that right now. So those are my guesses. Sub to the newsletter. You can see all of them in writing down there for you, along with some of the course notes, and make all of the hot links very easy for you. That'll be the first look on Monday. The entire article for the Pebble Beach AT&T Pro-Am is going to be released along with the betting show with Jeff Feinberg. So smash the like while you're here. Sub to Mayo Media Network, sub to the podcast, and use fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. You see all the different ways that you can manipulate the numbers to see what you want to see. So you might as well go do that and make your own picks, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!